um, which it probably is. Let's call a spade here. Um, so we are going to be talking about the bodhisattvas, both in the kind of like the Theravada context, and I've got one example from the Jatakas, which is really good. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the Mahayana understandings of bodhisattvas, which are very different. Um, Not so much in terms of what a bodhisattva is, but what a bodhisattva does. Right? And so action, once again, is super critical, but we have to take a look at it and say, oh, well, this is a thing. So let's look at the bodhisattva concept from the Theravada side first. And this, again, this comes from the Jatakas, case 20, the case of the hollow kings. I love this one for lots of reasons. It's a great passage, it really is. And it just, well, we'll get into it. All right, so Buddha told this story while journeying through Kosala, where he also gave many other teachings. When he came to the village of Nalakapana, he stayed near the Nalakapana lake. One day, after bathing in the pool, the monks asked the novices to fetch them some canes for needle cases, right? Because you have to sew your robes. So one of the requisites that a monk is allowed to possess is needle, a needle and thread, right? You got to put that somewhere. You can't just like randomly stash that, just like throw it around. You got to have some place to put it. So they have little cases that they put them in, usually made out of some kind of wooden-ish material. In this case, they were going after the canes, the bamboo canes that were in the local area. So after getting the canes, however, the monks discovered that rather than having joints like common canes, the canes were completely hollow. Surprised, they went to the Buddha and said, "Venerable Sir, we wanted to make needle cases out of these canes, but from top to bottom they are quite hollow. How can that be?" Right? Monks, the Buddha said, "This was my doing in days gone by." Then he told the story of the past. Long ago, on this spot there was a lake, surrounded by a thick forest. In those days, the Bodhisattva was born as king of the monkeys, right? So he had not. Here we have the Bodhisattva, and the term itself is one. Bodhi obviously is enlightenment, and sattva at full level, and that's where the Theravada side goes with it, right? These beings are not fully there. They're on the path, and they are guaranteed to get there at some point, but they're not there yet. So, Mr. King of the Monkeys, Bodhisattva, goes on. In those days, the Bodhisattva was born as the king of monkeys. As large as the fawn of a red deer, he was the wise leader of 80,000 monkeys who lived in that forest. He carefully counseled his followers. "My friends, in this forest, there are trees that are poisonous and lakes that are haunted by odors. Remember always to ask me first before eating any food that you have not eaten before or drinking any water from a source you have not drunk from before." Certainly, the monkeys agreed. Interesting. One day, while roaming the jungle, the monkey troop came to an area they had never before visited. Thirsty after their day's wanderings, they searched for water and found this beautiful lake. Remembering their master's warning, the monkeys refrained from drinking. They sat and waited for their leader. When he joined them, he asked, "Well, my friends, why don't you drink?" "We waited for you to come." "Well done," said the monkey king. And then he walked a full circuit around the lake. He noticed that all the footprints led down into the water, but none came back. Not a good sign. "My friends," he announced, "you were right not to drink from this lake. It is undoubtedly haunted by a demon." Suddenly, the ogre, who lived there in a hideous guise, rose up out of the lake and approached them. He had a blue belly and a white face, and bright red hands and feet. And automatically my brain goes straight to this one particular figure um, that I've seen pictured depicted throughout Buddhist literature. I'm not going to get into that right now. We have too much to go through yet. So, why are you sitting here? He asked the monkeys. Go down and drink. Go down to the lake and drink. The monkey came. Aren't you the owner of this lake? Yes, I am. How did you know I was here? I saw the footprints leading down to the water, but none returning. Do you prey on all those who go down to the water? Well, yes, I do. From small birds to large animals, I catch everything which has come into my water. I would eat all of you too. Oh no, ogre, said the Monkey King. We are not going to let you eat us. Wonderful. You must be parched. Just drink the water, prompted the monster. All right, ogre, we will drink some water, but we are not going to fall into your power. And the ogre says, how can you drink water without entering the lake? Ogre, the Monkey King cried, we need not enter your lake at all. All 80,000 of us can drink from these canes as easily as from a hollow lotus stalk. We will drink, and you will not be able to harm us. The Monkey King requested that a cane be brought to him. Then, recollecting the 10 paramitas that he was perfecting. See, this is a bodhisattva perfecting the paramitas. If a bodhisattva can, you can too. Right. After he recited them. Then recollecting the 10 paramitas that he was perfecting, he recited all of them in a solemn asseveration of truth, and blew into the cane. Instantly the joints disappeared, and the whole length of the cane became hollow. After hollowing several more in this cane in the same way, the Monkey King toured the lake. Let all canes growing here become perfectly hollow throughout, he commanded. Because of the great virtues of bodhisattvas, their commands are always fulfilled. Therefore, every single cane that grew around that lake instantly became hollow, and has always remained so. At last, the Monkey King seated himself with a cane in his hands. The other 80,000 monkeys likewise arranged themselves around the lake, each with a cane. They all dipped their canes in the water and drank. They satisfied their thirst, but the ogre could not touch a single one of them. He would have caught their cane rather than catching them. Beautiful thought. This is brilliant. Right. Frustrated and furious, he returned to his home in defeat. When all had finished, the Monkey King led his followers back into the forest. When the Buddha ended this lesson, he showed the connection and identified the birth by saying, Devadatta was the water ogre of those days, and my disciples were the 80,000 monkeys, and I was the Monkey King, so clear in resourcefulness. So here we have a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is on the path to perfecting themselves. They're working at it. They're really trying. They're practicing the paramitas, and they're doing all this awesome stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the comments quick. Yeah, bodhisattvas. Yep. Sound is a bit fuzzy. That's probably. If I can. Let's see if I can make this work. Sorry. That might also be that the connection is just a little bit weird. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a fun story, right? I love that particular Jataka because it's beautiful, and it just kind of explains what a bodhisattva can do in their lifetime, right? Because this is somebody who has not yet reached full enlightenment. He still has all the virtue, and he's still practicing the paramitas, the perfections, and he's still doing all of this stuff and teaching his people to do the same. And these are beautiful things. This is what a bodhisattva does, right? So that's the Theravada understanding of it, is a being who is not yet enlightened, but definitely will be, right? A future Buddha, but not a Buddha. Right? This kind of changed and morphed a little bit. So it kind of morphed when we went from the Theravada side, and Buddhism went a little bit north and east, and became, well, not became, by means by way of history, right? the Mahayana formed and became a thing as part of the Buddhist world, right? So what did Mahayana do with this concept of this being who was not yet enlightened, but definitely would be, right? The Mahayana saw it a little bit differently. They didn't see this enlightenment being as somebody who was almost there, but not there yet. They look at it as, and they always have looked at it as kind of a sense, kind of a being who has reached enlightenment, who has reached that goal. But in the process of reaching that goal, they look back and they see that there are still other beings who could become enlightened as well. And they know that morally it is not right to withhold from those other beings the capacity for enlightenment, the capacity for seeking and reaching the spiritual goal. So they see these bodhisattvas as all kinds of, like, they're perfect. They've made it to the goal. They've reached that enlightenment. They've reached their spiritual goal. They have all of these virtues. They have all of these attributes. Today we would call it spam. It's kind of like the byproduct. It's not the actual product, but it's what's left over after everything else is everything else that's useful is already put someplace, right? This is the byproduct of meditation. This is the byproduct of the path, right? You develop, well, some people develop these phala, these supernatural powers, and the bodhisattvas, they develop them, right? You always see a bodhisattva having various capacities, and we'll talk about some of those. But one thing you never see in the Mahayana concept of the bodhisattva is that they stop themselves from further advancing into parinirvana. And for the Mahayana side, this has been very key, because this really shows us that you can reach enlightenment and realize that there's more left to do, at least from the Mahayana understanding. So if you're this being who has reached full enlightenment and has decided that you're going to stick around you're going to stick around to help those other beings who likewise have the capacity to reach Buddha, likewise have the capacity to attain enlightenment and reach the spiritual goal. What do you do, right? What do you do in that case? Well, you utilize all of the extra special skills to help them, because that's what a bodhisattva does. That's kind of that's somewhere between not particularly good signal, and the building does have a really good echo, which is awesome for chanting, not so awesome for giving Dharma talks. So if you're this being who has these powers, has these skills, these virtues, these capabilities, you use them to help others, right? So all of the bodhisattvas do this in very different ways. But the thing that is very noticeable with the Mahayana bodhisattvas is they are very well known for taking different, very difficult vows, very difficult spiritual vows. So the ones that I have kind of up here, they have vowed to serve the Buddha in various ways to help those who are seeking enlightenment to reach it. And so I don't know if you can see them from that angle. Maybe I will move. Here, let me move both of these up just a little bit. We're going to scoot. Welcome to the altar. I don't know if you can see everybody right now. Okay, so here we have, and I probably shouldn't be leaning on that. Oops. So here we have 3 bodhisattvas and 1 Buddha, right? We have the Achalananta, the immovable wisdom king, who is also a bodhisattva. We have Ksitigarbha, which is also known as Jizo, the earth matrix or earth womb, depending on earth store, the earth matrix or earth womb, depending on earth storehouse, depending on how you want to translate that, bodhisattva. And on this side, we have the kind of bodhisattva and goddess of war that I like to bring up from time to time. She is super interesting. Like we'll go into all three of them one at a time. So over there on the far side of the altar, we have Fudo Myo, the Ashalanata, the immovable wisdom king, who has reached enlightenment and has taken up vows to be immovable, not so much that he's not going to move, but he will not be moved, right? Until all beings achieve enlightenment. He is here to be that firm, solid rock, that firm guide that helps us to practice and that helps us to do what we are doing, right? That helps us to reach that spiritual goal. And he does so regardless of the circumstances, right? So even if that means that he has to sit in flames, which he's doing, still not sure if you guys can kind of properly see this. Let's see. Is he there? Yeah. So you can kind of see the flames around him. And the whole point with that, maybe I'll just so Fudo Myo, let's see if we can't just turn it a little bit. Can you see? Almost. The lighting in here is not particularly good, but it works. So the point there is that he is not going to give up on anybody. He's not going to be moved to say, no, you can't be enlightened. We're done, right? He is going to be there helping them through everything, helping them work through all the stuff that's going on, all the fires that are going on in their lives, right? And to burn away all of those impure thoughts, to burn away all of the kind of delusions that we have, right? And that's what his sword is there for, to cut through the delusions, along with the rope that he carries, which is there to bind any demons that might be, mental, spiritual demons that might be present, right? I tend to try and recollect his qualities and his capacities, and because that's ultimately what Mahayana Bodhisattvas are here for. They are here to be reminders of what we can be, of what we have the capacity to be. We just need the right inspiration, we need the right effort, and we have to put in the practice to do so. But we have every bit as much potential, every bit as much capability of protecting all those beings, regardless, right? And helping shepherd them, helping guide them, helping be companions on their path to enlightenment. We can do that, regardless of what the situation is. So he's kind of more of a never give up kind of bodhisattva. Now, in the middle, and I know he's super hard to see right now, we have little Jizo. And this one is actually iron. He's not my usual stone one. But he was the one that I had available. And his whole deal, he is the king of vows, by the way. We call him the king of vows because he is the one who has vowed never to reach full enlightenment until such time as all the hells are cleared, completely empty. There's no beings left in hell, right? Which is a pretty tough vow. He gives us kind of so if Ashwalananta, if the immovable wisdom king is kind of the never give up bodhisattva, then you can almost think of the Jizo as kind of like, I won't give up, right? I will keep going and keep going and keep going. He's the endurance. He's the marathoner of the, well, the ultra marathoner really of the bodhisattva world, right? And he's always been particularly a particular part of my personal practice because he doesn't give up. He does keep going, and he does, even if it's going to be a long slog, and even if people like the statues of him dot the landscape in Japan and much of Asia. And birds, tend to kind of like sit on his head, and sometimes they leave a bit of a mess, and sometimes people leave a bit of a different kind of a mess as they're passing by. He doesn't get distracted by it. He doesn't get angry. He just sits there calmly, smiling gently, and keeps going, right? Keeps at it, keeps at it, keeps at it. So we have determination, we have endurance, and then we have, at least for our warrior crowd, this one, she's kind of special. We brought her in specifically from the Indic faith, which she may have also been borrowed by the Indic faiths from some of the earlier peoples who entered into the Indian subcontinent. And there may be parallels between her and certain other Proto-Iranian and or early European kinds of figures. Now, the important actress of warriors. Now, why would a bodhisattva protect warriors? Like what point does that serve? And the point there is that she exists and she exhibits such a powerful kind of skillful means, right? So you see in her hand all of the different weapons, two of which are actually really important, right? One is, and actually, is it in her hand right now? No, it's not. Oops. Okay. So she's supposed to have a bow and arrow, a sword, a lasso, bow in one hand, arrow in another hand. And she's also supposed to be holding a war fan and then a kind of usually it's a temple of some sort representing the Dharma, right? So she is there to kind of bring warriors away from the kind of mind that says we need to be fighting, we need to be violent, we need to be aggressive, right? Not by taking that away from them, but by saying, let's redirect that to something better, right? Your war experiences are important. They give you, certain attributes, and we respect that, right? This is the early Buddhist community telling warriors, we respect what you've had to do. We respect the things that you saw when you went when you went to combat, when you went off to this. We respect that. But now you're back to being a civilian, and we need you to protect the community, sometimes from ourselves, right? So we as human beings fail. We let our egos get ahead of us. We go off and we make dumb things happen, right? Both as leaders and as the populace, right? We do some dumb stuff. And the same is 100% true of all warrior cultures, of all militaries across the world. We do some dumb stuff. And that dumb stuff, if we were to say, oh, you're a bad person because you did dumb stuff, is that going to bring anybody closer to enlightenment? No, no, it won't. Instead, what we did is we said, look, use what you have learned from those experiences to help defend us from ourselves, to help us to not make those bad choices, to help make better choices. Bringing them kind of out of this mindset of we have to destroy, things, to we have to destroy delusion. We have to destroy these terrible, the things which, the mindset which can ultimately hurt others, right? We're going to destroy those who are harming others so that everyone may live peacefully. We're going to take these actions to defend those who cannot defend themselves, to defend those who are in need of protection, right? And we're going to do so in a mature way. This is us as a community saying we need the drive and the determination and the willingness to act that you as warriors possess. But we need you to use it in very specific ways, and we're going to teach you how to do that. We're going to channel that by means of this here warrior, by means of this here protectress, right? Because at the end of the day, all of these bodhisattvas, we are supposed to be trying to learn how to, and we are supposed to be inspired by them, and we are supposed to do our very best to kind of emulate their actions, to kind of emulate what they are and who they are, right? So if we're emulating Marichi Deva, our warrior goddess, right? We are becoming protectors, and we are defending those who need defending. We are teaching those who need to be taught. We are helping shine light on those things which are currently in darkness. We are helping to do all of that as warriors, and we are, as warriors, destroying old corrupt systems, old corrupt structures, in order to replace them with something, to nurture and replace them with something better. If we as warriors are living up to the bodhisattva ideal, we are doing exactly that. If we as people are living up to the ideals held, the ideals that Jizo represents, that Jizo kind of stands in for, then we are going to keep at it. We can build that, we can get that determination, right? Maybe we're not running marathons. Maybe we're just running, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, but we keep going, and we keep going, and we keep going until we have reached that goal, and until we have helped others to reach that goal as well. We have brought them along on the path. We are companions for them as they run through their lives, right? And this is really, really powerful, right? Now, if we are living in using the inspiration of the immovable wisdom king, if we are emulating the immovable wisdom king, we're not just stopping. We're not just not doing anything, right? That's not the kind of immovable that we're talking about. We are seeing others from a lens of compassion, from a lens that says, I know you've done some dumb stuff, and I have also done some dumb stuff. And as we both have done some dumb stuff, I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to say that your dumb stuff is going to completely and permanently, forever and ever and ever, prevent you from becoming a Buddha. I'm going to stick with you, and I'm going to help you work through it. I'm going to help you, no matter what fires you're in, I'm going to sit through them with you until we can help you to reach the spiritual goal as well, right? And sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes this is so much harder than others. This is so hard when we have leaders who engage in practices that the Army would love to call, what we used to call them toxic leadership, and then we decided that wasn't the right term, and we called it corrosives, and then we decided that wasn't really the right term either, and then we decided, I think we've currently settled on counterproductive leadership practices or counterproductive actions. Right? And when we see those, right, we can take a look at those leaders and say, look, you're doing dumb stuff, but I'm still going to help you. You are doing some really counterproductive stuff that is hurting others, but I'm still going to treat you with the same compassion and the same respect that I would any other being. Even if I have to say, yeah, you're doing dumb stuff and you need to knock it off. We don't give up on them. We don't say, you're doing dumb stuff, you will always do dumb stuff. See, that's exactly one of the major problems that the military has, is we have this concept of dirtbagism, as I tend to call it, right? I'm sure there's another word for it, but I've always called it dirtbagism, because it's kind of this belief that once somebody does one thing wrong, they will always be wrong in everything that they do. And there is no redeeming them. There is no bringing them back. There is no chance of saving them. There is no chance of them making any progress or becoming better in any way, shape, or form. And there's a lot of leaders, especially in the old school leadership mindset, who will tell you that this person did this one dumb thing 5, 10 years ago. They are still the worst human being on the face of the earth, and they need to be kicked out of the army. They need to be kicked out of the Marines. They need to be kicked out of the Navy because they did this one dumb thing that wasn't exactly what command wanted them to do. Right? So they are dirtbags because they did that one thing. If they were practicing along the lines of the Achalanatta, the immovable wisdom king, they would, instead of saying, oh, you did this one dumb thing, you're a dirtbag, they would say, you did one thing dumb. Let's fix that and let's do something else. Let's work through that. Let's sit through the fire, the hard stuff. Let's do the hard work of helping you through this so that you can do better next time, so that you can continue to grow and develop as a human being. That's what being inspired by the immovable wisdom king bodhisattva, right? That's what that would look like. It's not giving up on them. It's not saying, oh, well, you're worthless now because you failed once. It's saying, okay, you fell down, flat on your face. Let's help you get up. Let's help you scrape up, wipe away all the dirt and all the dust and all of whatever we got to scrape away, right? And we're going to help you walk. We're going to help you walk it off and walk and keep walking, and help you do things better, help you to be more mindful of where you're stepping in the future. Are they still going to stumble? Absolutely. We as human beings are good at that. In fact, it's what makes us human. The fact that we fail and we get up and we keep going. We are not human beings because we're perfect or because we could be perfect. We are human beings because we constantly fail. We constantly make mistakes. We constantly do dumb stuff. And if we can't get over ourselves and say, look, it's better to get up, dust yourself off, and keep walking than it is to say, oh, well, you fell flat on your face. Now you're a dirt face. You're a dirt bag. We can't fix it. Go away. Right? This is where I think the bodhisattvas have a really powerful kind of message for us, is that we can be inspired by what they bring to the table. We can be inspired by their example, by what they do, by who they are, right? By what they represent. We can be inspired by that, and we can choose, and this is key, right? We don't have to do it. We can choose to be that being, that emanation of these figures, right? We can be that emulation of these figures. We can be inspired by these figures to help others. And that's a huge, huge, huge thing, because we have that within us. We can do it. it's up to us to do so. Right? I'm sorry, I rambled on and on and on. Probably way too long. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move you guys back down, and I will start reading some of the comments, and hopefully we can talk a little bit more. I already have next week's theme set up, and we're doing the lives of modern monks and nuns, and some of the older monks and nuns as well. We're going to visit that topic. The week after that, there is something really kind of biting at my brain. I want to do it, but I want to make sure that you guys are on board with me doing it. Right? So there's a theme that I want to talk about, but I want to make sure that you guys are okay with me doing so. Because it can be a little difficult for us Dharma boots. It can be a little bit difficult in the military to listen to what I'm going to have to say. So, topic that I'm thinking of, and let me go ahead and move you first. I'll scoop myself here. Scoop myself here. Okay. So, the thing that I kind of want to do, so next week, like I said, we're going to talk about monks and nuns, and both ancient and modern, and kind of take a look at how the example that they give us. But the week after that, I want to talk about the Buddha's understanding of openness, of having open dialogue. I'm going to get myself in trouble for this, and I know it. I'm going to have to be okay with it, because it is important that we talk about it, even if we all know that the military loves to handle things outside of public view. So the thing that I'm going to ask is, do I talk about this openness? Do I bring it out in the open, and kind of, do we have that conversation about what the Buddha taught about openness and about, kind of principles of non-secrecy? Or do I do something else? Is there something else pressing on your guys' minds that might be more important than that? All right. So no, not openness like in terms of like opposing views, but this is kind of like, yeah, the opposite of secrecy, right? This is not the closed fist of the teacher. This is not, the Buddha actually listed three things, kind of, three things that are done in secret that he listed as kind of derision, like full of derision, right? He very much derided these things, and I would kind of like to talk about those in terms of how we in the military don't practice that, and in some cases aren't even allowed to practice that. So that's kind of where I'm trying to go with that one. But if that's not what you guys want me to talk about, then I definitely won't. So off the top of my head, and I'm forgetting the exact ones, but it's criminal pacts, sexual affairs, and the rituals of the Brahmins, right? So basically criminal activity, cheating on your people, right? You're cheating on your loved ones, and these secret rituals of the nobles of his time. He he declared that all three of those things were absolutely, that those were the only three things conducted in secret. Everything else can be conducted in the open. And those three things obviously were pretty terrible, right? Those are not things you do. Those are not things you want to do, because there's no benefit to them. They don't do anything useful. So that's kind of, again, I want to talk about that, but I don't want to take away your guys' kind of agency. So if you give it some thought, right? Give it some thought, and if you think about it, and sometime during the week you have an idea and you say, nah, that may not be the thing that we want to talk about. Let's talk about this instead. Then I'll talk about that, right? But if there's no complaints, or if there's no recommendations otherwise, then yeah, by all means, that's what I'll be doing 2 weeks from now. Next week, obviously, again, monks and nuns. So. And I do see your comments that that it's easier to understand me when I'm close, probably because of, like I said, the echo and the kind of like low quality internet signal that we have in here. What I might do is I might go ahead, like I had at Leonard Wood. I had the kind of the pedestal was kind of like right back here, right in the middle. I might do that. I might go back to that. I think that might work, but. Okay. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with my throat in here today. Maybe it's a little dusty. Anyway, do give it some thought, and over the week, if you find something else that is more important to you guys, because I don't want it to be about what's important to me. I want it to be about what's important to you guys. And if that's not important to you, then I don't really have to do it. I can do something else. But if it is important, then yeah, we can definitely do that. And I do see your comment. It is brewing up. I don't want to say why, because ultimately that would, particularly in my unit, but not exclusively. And so I think that's something that we should definitely talk about. At any rate, if that's okay, then we'll talk about it. And super egoish thoughts or ideas going on for me? Yes, probably. I should. Oh man. Definitely talk for another time, but yeah, there's a lot of that going around, and there's a lot of that going around up here, and I'm not liking it. The only way to do better is to practice, right? And practice requires time, and time is a luxury that we in the military too frequently do not have. Now, I will do better about that, and it is kind of my commitment as kind of as one of you, as one of the Dharma boots, to kind of do better and to constantly improve, right? To show you by my actions, to kind of give you that example, right? The example like these guys. Okay, so it is 17 after 8 here, and I know that there are signs posted that the roads close at 9. So I do have to kind of put this to a quick end and kind of get out of here. I don't know if the roads actually close at 9, or if that's just like a really old sign that nobody bothered to take down, but I'm not really interested in chancing it. because my only other option is to, instead of going up this one particular road on post, it's to go off post, drive for an extra half an hour, well, an extra 45 minutes, I think, probably. And I would kind of like to get home a little early because I do head back out to the field tomorrow. Yay. So, ooh, that's a good one. That's actually a really powerful comment. I appreciate that. The comment, for those who are not watching, and probably, well, I don't know, maybe you watch, maybe you read the comment. The comment is, the Hindu god of peace and wrath are the same. I think of that person as the superego. I like it. I like it, and I'm going to end on that. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dharma Boots, for being Dharma Boots, right? Thank you for attending and for watching and for commenting. And if you're not commenting while we're live, you can definitely comment after the live portion is finished. Do feel free to comment, and I will see those comments, and I will do my best to respond to them when I am not in the field, which honestly, at this point, I was supposed to be in the field today, and then we weren't, and then we were, and then we weren't, and tomorrow we will be in the field, and I don't, yeah. Army schedules, right? Yay, we have no idea when we're doing what we're doing. We're just going to go do it. Good times. So I'll be thinking of you guys as I'm out in the field trying to piece together what I'm going to talk about for monks and nuns. So thank you. At any rate, as always, Dharma Boots, thank you so much for watching and participating. I do appreciate it. I really do. Right? I do appreciate knowing that we have this little community. It's special to me. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you, Dharma Boots. We'll see you guys next time.